I stayed with a man that owned a tortoise that he was using to make money. Yes, sometimes when I look at my life, I just shake my head. I was that kind of a girl, I was a real slave queen, born and raised here in Rustenburg. I wanted the things, them. My cousin sister, when she came to stay with us, she was the one that made me to be the person that I am right now. She would go with me, even though I was still underaged, to different taverns, and I would witness my cousin sister as she was getting money from men who would buy alcohol for him. Sometimes she will end up sleeping with those men even in the bushes whilst I'll be waiting for him, because the man that she would have gotten maybe would be a married man, so they'll just do their thing maybe by the tree when it was time for us to go back home. This will be late, 1 a.m., even 2 a.m. My husband, my first husband that I eventually got married to, he was a good man, a simple South African guy, but he could not give me the life that I thought that I deserved. Brother, when I was dating this boyfriend of mine who later became my husband, I mistreated him quite a lot because he was unemployed, and as for me, I was working as a casual at Pick and Pay. So I eventually left him because I thought that he did not even deserve me at all. I did not care about him. I did not care about his little heart that he was saying I had broken to several pieces. I wanted a man that could offer me a better lifestyle. I started to date a lot of guys at the same time until I met Chief. Then when I met Chief, Chief was something else. He was Nigerian. He was that kind of a guy that will make you to feel that you are in love with a rich guy. He made sure that he showed me he had money at all the times. He said that he had a company, and this company was just a director of that company, and he had others that was running the company for him because of his legal status. We did not get much into his legal status when we started to date, because all that I wanted to do was to eat his money. I did not ask any questions whether he had a passport or not when he told me that I have a legal status issue. So if it happens that I can't take him on vacations as much as I am supposed to, please know that I have these legal issues that I'm still sorting out. So as for Chief, he was someone that was always indoors, let me say 24/7. He stayed in a high-end gated community, and he told me that even his neighbor was a minister, and even though his papers were not okay, he was staying in such a place because he was ultra rich. The house belonged to his company, and he was consulting with people that did engineering tenders, because Chief from his country, Nigeria, he was an experienced engineer doing town planning as well. So I did not ask too many questions because the money was all that I was there for. If he told me that he wanted us to go somewhere, I already had a license, and I would be the one that would be driving Chief's car, because on his own, because of his legal status, he was unable to have that freedom and flexibility to move around. So as long as he was by the passenger seat, and when we get stopped by the police, he does not talk in his Nigerian accent, we were always safe. He treated me like I was his everything. And then he dropped the bomb, and he said to me, "Baby, one day I want you to marry me. I want us to get married. I mean, like properly." He said that he was going to give me 60,000 rands so that I can become his wife. I did not understand this only after I had met one of his associates who was a Nigerian guy, but even though he was Nigerian, he was married to a South African. He told me that this 60,000 rand that Chief was going to give to me. Basically, it was for his papers so that it can be legal once I sign. And all that while, he had been depositing a lot of money in my bank account, because it's not just what people think, that you just get married and the person becomes South African. They look at your bank statements. So all the time when we had been dating, Chief made sure that I had money with me at all the time, so that on paper my credit score even went up, because I was getting money straight from his company as if I was working there, but it was just girlfriend allowance that came with a pay slip. So because of this, I was able to have a foreigner staying under my roof, because I had money in the account. My 12-month statement showed that I had more than enough, the requirement. So I said yes, because I did not want to lose him. And besides, I saw how difficult it was for Chief to move around, since he did not have proper papers. So I was feeling sorry for the man that was giving me this beautiful life. But even then, things were a bit weird. We were married, but we stayed in separate places. I don't know why, but whenever I wanted to ask him, I'll just feel like lazy, and I'll be like, I'll ask him tomorrow, a day after tomorrow. I was blinded by the love that he was giving to me, because each and every birthday, he would buy a brand new car for me. He would take me to the dealership, and he'll be like, he does not like surprise, so he's just going to buy it for me straight, and then he will pretend it to me on my birthday. I was living a very beautiful life, and I thought that I had made it. I was living in sin, but I was living large. But I kept on thinking about, why is it Chief never wanted us to stay under one roof? And maybe it was my ancestors that were waking me up. Maybe it was God. So God is always watching, even when you have turned your back on him. By then, I did not find any reason for me to believe in God. Why else would I want to believe in God, to believe in your ancestors? Because I had it all. I had money. I could do whatever that I wanted to do. The first time I suspected something was wrong was when I got pregnant the first time. We were happy, me and Chief, we were happy about this pregnancy. He was actually telling me that once he would have a child with a South African, then it meant that it will be easy for him to have pathway to citizenship, because the child will become his visa, according to what he used to tell me. But I started to notice that as for my husband, Chief, he was happy, but he was happy for the papers. I don't know how to properly explain it to you. He was happy that I was pregnant, simply because this made our case to be much more strong in front of a Home Affairs official that will be looking at our documents. It really made me to feel cheap and used. Honestly speaking, he did not love me. He loved my South African ID. He did not touch me. The moment that he suspected that I was pregnant, that was when he said, let us go and buy a preg test. We were about to become intimate. It was early in the morning. We literally had to wait until Clicks was opened. And then we went and we bought it. He took me to a bathroom right there at the mall, and he waited for me to test. And I told him that I was carrying his child, but it seemed as if he was not happy. He did not want to touch me. When I would ask him, he would be like, I am giving you space. I don't want to hurt the baby. We would even Google together, and I'll show him that sleeping with a pregnant woman will not do any damage to the baby. But it was as if he was scared of me, or he was disgusted of the life that was growing inside of me. Then, just like that, poof, there was a miscarriage. I cried until I had no tears left. Chief, he just gave me money to go shopping. He said, do not worry, we will always try again another time. But the same thing happened again and again. 4 times, my sisters and brothers. 4 times I was pregnant for Chief. and the pregnancies were always unsuccessful. So since I kept on having these pregnancies, and whenever I would fall pregnant and the baby won't grow healthy according to what the gyno was telling me, and she would be like, do not blame yourself, because whenever you have a miscarriage, it means that the baby was not developing nice. And she made me to understand that it was not my fault, but it became too much. 4 times that I fell pregnant for Chief in a space of only 2 years. I fell pregnant 4 times. So the gyno advised me to at least to go on a family plan and then try a little bit later on in life. I figured it out that she knew that if I kept on falling pregnant from my husband, maybe something bad will happen to my womb. I won't be able to have kids in the future. So I listened to the doctor's advice. I even went to the doctor and I got an implant so that I can be on a family plan, and later on we can try for a baby. I was surprised that I fell pregnant whilst I had an implant. Brother, that was when this soft life started to make no sense at all. By then, Chief had said that he wanted us to stay together. So we were staying together. I saw how cruel my husband could be. Emotionally, he was not there. I knew that my husband, he had other mental health issues, like he's someone that does not understand or feel for others. All that he cares about, it is only him. He's not like a narcissist, but he acts like one. So I would be in the house alone, a big house. It's scary when you are all alone. All that he would do when I would complain that, why are you not always at home? He would give me money on top of the money that I already had. The bank cards, every bank card that was in the house, I knew that it had money in it. I could go and buy whatever that I wanted. But what I wanted was my husband to be with me. I started to spend more time in the location at my mother's house because at my own home, it felt so empty. I started to feel sick to the stomach. I started to ask myself, what is the price of all of this? Why is it that every time that I have a miscarriage, my husband's company, they will get a new contract and they will always celebrate when I was busy crying over the baby that I would have lost? They would come and they would celebrate with a bride at the house. I would argue with my husband. I'll be like, why can't you take these people that work for you, the office staff, and then you go somewhere and you celebrate? I am in pain because these miscarriages, they were not just normal miscarriages, they were painful miscarriages. I would spend 3 days in bed, unable to move my legs. He would have to do everything for me. I would lose weight, I would lose appetite, yet he will have the audacity to bring in people so that they can celebrate a new contract that they would have gotten. One night, it just got too much for me. I was in pain and I was crying. I could not even call my mom. And then that was when I just went on my knees. I said, please God, it was not even a powerful prayer. Remember that I was someone that was living in sin. All that I said was me speaking to the universe, speaking to the heavens. And I said these words, maybe if you are also in trouble, if you say this prayer, it can help you. I said, if there is a God in heaven, please show me the truth. I can't live in this darkness anymore. Reveal anything that is happening in this house. Am I just a trophy wife? Reveal it to me. Is he cheating on me? Reveal it to me. Is he involved in anything that is criminal? Reveal it to me so that I can get to know. I did not know that God was going to answer me, because I was living in sin at that time. I was even humiliated to go to church because of the things that me and Chief we used to do when we were drunk. It was total demonic stuff, drugs and other things, but I was not heavily involved in drugs. After that prayer, it seemed as if there was something that changed in that house. Chief was even acting more strange. He would come back really late, avoiding eye contact with me, and he was always drinking. It was just that he respected me a lot, but the way that he would look at me, it would be like he wants to punch me in the face. So I kept my mouth shut. I think the Holy Spirit was already working with me, because before that, I would always scream at Chief if I saw that he does not want to give me any form of attention. But at that time, it was as if there was a spirit that was giving me this patience with him, to become patient, even though my spirit was restless. But I felt this peace that would just come into my heart, then I will be okay. Then came the day. Chief came around 2 a.m. He was really drunk. He was not just tipsy. He could not even walk. When I had him outside, I had to go out, because he parked the car in the driveway. He was playing loud music, and in the gated communities, you are not allowed to be playing loud music. So I rushed out of bed. I was not even mad with him. All that I did was that I went and then I turned down the volume of the music without even looking at him, and it was smelling, the car was smelling of alcohol and women. I closed the door, and when I was about to walk away, something just made me to feel sorry for him, because he was still my husband. And then I walked with him indoors. I struggled because he was heavier than I am, and then we struggled until we were inside. He could not even walk straight. He was laughing at himself as if he was a crazy person. I don't know what he was talking about, because he was speaking in his language. So I do not know what exactly was he saying, but I think that it had something to do with his rituals, because when you are drunk, you start to reflect on yourself. You start thinking about the bad things that you do. I think that Chief was having that eureka moment where he had realized that he could not go on with these rituals that he had been doing. He was laughing like a madman. I had to help him get to the sofa, and he was a heavy guy. He kept on talking in his language, and then he started speaking in English. He started laughing about sitting on top of his father's grave whilst he was eating feces. This was something that shocked me. I kept on asking him what he meant by that, because this did not sound normal for someone. Even when you are drunk, you're not going to talk about your dead father like that. He started laughing at me as if I was his father, saying that he had sacrificed me, so why the hell was I even bothering him? And he started to cry. He was like a baby. The way that a fetus is like in the mother's womb, that is what he did when he fell to the floor and he started crying. I started to ask myself, what is going on here? And then I got a revelation, and then I had a voice that said to me that I was supposed to pray for him and to mention his name, his father's name. So I mentioned his name and his father's name in that prayer, and I had something that told me to go and fetch some water, pray for that water, and give it for him to drink. And then I gave the water, and after I had given him the water, that was when he started laughing at me. But what I did not know was he was already manifesting. So as someone that was not a Christian, who had never done a deliverance sermon on anyone, I did not know that my husband, he was manifesting. So he started to laugh at me, and then he was like, "You think that you are here because I love you?" And he was laughing like a madman. He was like, I have possessed you. How many times have I? The demon that was speaking through Chief then told me that it had made me to be pregnant 10 times. All along, I thought that I was speaking to my husband, but it was the demon that was talking. Even the voice, it was different. It bragged and it said that it had possessed my womb 10 times. So there were other times when I had fallen pregnant for a month, and then I went on my period, thinking that I am on my period, but it was a miscarriage. It bragged that the moment that I fell pregnant, it would enter into my womb, then it will start to feed on the flesh of the baby that will be growing inside of my womb. I then said to him, "I think that you are drunk, you just need to sleep." He then started screaming. By then it was crazy, and it was really crazy. He was screaming at me. He was like, I'm rich, mother Fucker, I'm rich. He was screaming. And then he was pointing at everything. Look at this house. Look at the cars. You think that I can just get this money out of the South African government? I'm rich. I am getting this money from my tortoise. The tortoise provides everything for me. I just froze. A tortoise? What kind of madness was this? I thought maybe he was just talking nonsense because of the booze and the women, but I did not want to bring in the smell of the women that was in the car, because he was going to divert the attention to what I would have brought into the conversation. He was not stopping. He was going on and on. He was bragging about how he did not work like other men because he was okay already spiritually. And he was like, every time when you are crying blood from your private part, I am getting my money. And he was laughing at me, saying that he has eaten his own kids in Nigeria, and he started to cry. When he mentioned that he had eaten his son of the first wife that he had when he was in Nigeria, he started to cry and he came back to his senses. By then, I felt like I wanted to vomit because of what he was telling me. It was so intense. Then he did something that I will never forget as long as I live in this life, in the afterlife. If it happens that when I die, we are allowed to replay the sins in our lives that we have lived, I wish to go to that night so that I can sit and watch and listen and watch everything that he said to me. After he had stood up, he said, "Follow me." So I followed him. He was saying that I am like his dog following him, because whatever that he wanted me to do, I was doing it, and he would be laughing at me. I ignored the way that he was humiliating me because I just wanted to see this tortoise that he was talking about. We went into one of these rooms. It was just a normal room, but brother, this was the room that we had redesigned, and we had done interior decor so that it can be the nursery room. If it ever happens that we have a child, this was the room that we were going to use for our newborn baby. This was the room that he had led me to. And then he said to me, "You are unclean woman. Let me first start by talking to my ancestors. Stand by the door." So he started to talk to his so-called ancestors, and then he pointed at me and he pointed at the bed that we had bought for the baby, because there was one time when I thought that I was going to make it through. I fell pregnant until I was in the 6th month. So we started to buy things for the newborn baby. And then he said, "Come in." And when I got in there, that was when he opened this other big bag that was in the wardrobe. I had not even bothered to open one of the wardrobe doors that seemed to be stuck. There was a bag that was in there, and I saw that there was a tortoise. It was a normal tortoise. When I saw it, honestly, I could not move, I could not scream, I could not do anything. I just stood there. And then that was when he said, now you have seen what is giving us money. Let me go and sleep. And he left me in that room. When he left me in that room, I was even afraid to be in that room alone. So I followed him to the bedroom. I did not want to go into the bedroom, and I was afraid to be in the living room or anywhere in the property. That was when I started to understand. Everything clicked, the miscarriages, the way that he would not touch me when I was pregnant, the way that he made sure that he would always give me money after I would have complained about the way that he brought people in the house when I would have had a miscarriage, as if he's celebrating my pain. So whilst he was sleeping on the bed, he was already starting to doze off. And then I just packed a small bag, and I did not even want to pack a lot. I just packed a small bag, took my ID, my phone, and then that was when I took one of the car and I drove back home in Rustenburg. And when my mom saw me, she was shocked. She thought that maybe I had been beaten by Chief, and I said, "No, Mom, I am tired. If you see me here, it means that there are things that have been happening in all these years that I just can't keep on living with this man." My mother then said that, "No, tomorrow we are going to talk with him, we'll have a meeting." And then I said, "If you're going to have a meeting, you will have a meeting with him on your own. I am done with him." I drove all the way from Joburg and I went to Nelspruit, where I stayed with my uncle for almost a year. He never looked for me. He never asked for anything from me. The car that I took, I thought that maybe he was going to say, "Return back my car." Maybe since it was registered in my name, that is why. But the money that I had, he never bothered to even ask for the money again. So when I was in Nelspruit, I kept on getting salary from his company. It happened for nearly 6 months, but I was having strange dreams. And then I told my uncle's wife that I was having these dreams and I wanted to go with her to the church. When I went to the church, I was prayed for. The pastor did not prophesy anything. And then he just prayed for me and I received Jesus Christ. And from that day until this very day, I always pray at all the times. And I have deep respect for the love of God, because at that time I was someone that was a sinner. But in my sins, when I called out to him for mercy, for him to show me what was happening in my life, he revealed everything to me and he showed me everything. And for that, I am really grateful. So wherever you are, it does not matter what kind of a life you are living. You might be living in sin today, but if you feel like you can't go on anymore, I urge you to just say a small little prayer like the one that I said, and God, I asked him to reveal the truth to me about my life and the life that I was living. And I was shown everything that made me to walk away from my marriage with Chief without even thinking twice. He did not even fight with me when I told him that I want a divorce. He said, okay. And when we met, no one would even think that these two people, this is what happened between them. We met and everything was normal and we had a divorce. And from there on, he never looked for me ever again. This is my confession. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear sister. Let us speak with him in the comment section. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Making money from a tortoise. Can you believe it?